Mama, I can feel myself disappearing. The words echoed from the memory loop Tharyn had replayed 1,000 times, each repetition cutting deeper. Behind her, Kira's neural matrix floated in the suspension chamber, silent, fragmented, flickering like a dying star. 3 cycles since the bioweapon exposure on Centauri 7 had shredded her daughter's consciousness into gossamer threads. Dr. Tharyn Elos pressed her palm against the transport's viewport as Vireth's hollow materialized through crimson haze, its surface writhing like infected tissue. Kira would have been terrified of this place, she whispered to the empty cabin. Always afraid of spiders. What would she think of cities with nerves? The planet's continents pulsed with bioluminescent decay, scarred by trenches that breathed. Her research had consumed years following fragmentary accounts from collapse war survivors, whispers of Melkharun, the Librarian of Flesh, an ancient being that maintained archives written not on data crystals, but upon preserved skin. They said it didn't grant wisdom. It reorganized supplicants' minds, swapping their identities with long-dead warlords, forgotten saints, alien prophets. But Tharyn's colleagues whispered she'd lost her mind to grief anyway. What more could she lose? The transport shuddered through atmospheric entry, hull groaning against impossible pressure differentials. Below, the bone cities stretched across continents. Architectural nightmares where living structures breathed through calcium frameworks, their surfaces crawling with sensory tendrils. I'm coming, little light, Tharyn murmured, using her pet name for Kira. Mama's going to fix you. Landing in the Marrow District required bribing port officials with synthesized hormones. The streets pulsed beneath her boots, composed of interconnected nerve bundles transmitting bioelectric information. Citizens moved in synchronized patterns, their bodies modified with symbiotic organisms that let them interface with the city's nervous system. Most bore memory graph scarring, their original personalities buried beneath accumulated identities from Melkharun's archives. Tharyn activated her neural stabilizers while following directions to the abandoned subway tunnels. The untested technology might prove catastrophically inadequate, but she developed it based on theoretical models and desperate hope. If this works, Kira, we'll go home to New Thessaly. I'll teach you to paint again, just like before. The tunnels twisted through fossilized organ formations, their walls lined with calcium deposits that whispered when touched. Her scanner detected massive bioelectric activity ahead, something simultaneously alive and archaeological. She emerged into a cathedral-sized chamber where bookshelves constructed from interlinked rib cages stretched toward shadow-lost ceilings. Each shelf held scrolls of preserved skin, their surfaces covered with glowing neural pathways. The air tasted of copper and accumulated memory. Melkharun materialized without movement, simply becoming present where emptiness had existed. 9 feet tall, skeletal frame draped in flowing flesh scrolls that breathed independently. Hollow sockets gazed with intelligence predating stellar formation. I seek restoration of consciousness for my daughter. Tharyn forced herself to speak. Her memories were fragmented by bioweapon exposure. The response came as direct neural transmission flooding her mind with alien concepts. The librarian didn't grant requests. It preserved consciousness by incorporating supplicants into its vast archive, preventing the complete loss that occurred with biological death. It was performing essential universal function, maintaining continuity of knowledge across cosmic scales. But the cost was individual identity. The chamber walls pulsed as Melkharun approached, scroll wrappings extending toward her neural stabilizers. She felt the devices failing under influence that operated beyond electromagnetic principles. Her first memory shifted. Suddenly, she recalled growing up on a dying agricultural world, watching crops wither under poison sun. But she'd been raised on New Thessaly's orbital platforms. The foreign memory felt completely authentic, replacing her actual past. More memories cascaded as Melkharun's influence deepened. She remembered commanding naval fleets during the collapse wars, her tactical decisions sterilizing star systems. She remembered being a xenobiologist discovering life forms of pure thought. She remembered dying of old age on different worlds, each death as vivid as her own birth. No, she whispered, clinging to Kira's image. I won't forget her. The librarian paused, hollow sockets registering her resistance. Through neural transmission, it offered knowledge. Her daughter's memories could be restored, but only through complete integration into the archives. The offered wisdom overwhelmed her. Techniques for rewriting neural architecture from transcendent civilizations, procedures for resurrecting consciousness from individual molecules, understanding memory as fundamental universal force. All would become hers, along with accumulated experiences of every being incorporated into the collection. But she would cease being Tharyn Elos. "I could forget you, Kira," she breathed, "but I'd gain power to save you." Imagined Kira's voice echoed. "What's the point if you're not you, Mama?" As her identity fractured, Tharyn became a warrior poet from the Centauri Rebellion who wrote epic verse while orchestrating guerrilla campaigns. The new identity felt natural, as if she'd always been this person. Her daughter's name became unfamiliar data, but deeper than personality, beyond individual identity, something fundamental remained unchanged. Love for Kira transcended memory. It existed as pure emotional truth that no neural reorganization could eliminate. Even forgetting her daughter's name and face, the imperative to save her burned with increasing intensity. This deeper truth resonated with Melkharun's purpose. The librarian's scrolls retracted, allowing Tharyn to access specific archive sections without complete assimilation. She browsed preserved memories like database files, searching for techniques to repair Kira's consciousness. The knowledge existed in a biomancer's experiences from the Vega system, methods for reconstructing neural patterns from minimal fragments. But accessing required partial integration. She would retain core identity while becoming hybrid consciousness, incorporating the biomancer's personality and memories. The choice crystallized. Tharyn accepted, feeling her mind expand as new knowledge flooded her consciousness. She simultaneously remembered being herself in the vegan biomancer, experiencing both memory sets as equally authentic. The integration was permanent. She would never again be purely human. Melkharun withdrew, allowing departure with needed knowledge. But part of her consciousness now existed as archive extension, connected to the vast network of preserved memories. Returning to her transport, Tharyn began implementing the biomancer's techniques on Kira's neural matrix. Procedures required days of continuous work, rebuilding synaptic pathways while preserving core personality patterns. Her hybrid consciousness proved essential. Human love provided motivation, while biomancer knowledge supplied expertise. As Kira's neural activity stabilized, her eyes opened. Recognition flickered as she whispered, "Mama?" Tharyn held her daughter close, feeling love that transcended individual consciousness boundaries. In saving Kira, she discovered identity was more fluid than imagined. Preservation of consciousness required accepting change. True immortality meant becoming something greater than single perspective. "Can you hear me clearly now, little light?" Tharyn asked, her voice carrying harmonics of two minds merged. Kira smiled, the expression exactly as remembered. "Yes, Mama. I'm not disappearing anymore." They departed Vireth's hollow together, but Tharyn knew she would return. The archives called to her, promising deeper integration with accumulated universal wisdom. For now, she was content being both mother and biomancer, human and hybrid, individual and fragment of something infinitely larger. The transport lifted toward stars holding new possibilities for consciousness evolution. Behind them, Melkharun continued eternal work, preserving memories in flesh, ensuring no experience would be lost to darkness between worlds. And in the cabin, a mother who was no longer quite herself whispered to her saved daughter, "Not anymore, little light. Never again.